Hello, welcome to another edition of Prize Picks on 5 on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Make sure you sign up using promo code FIVE. It's kind of the off season for a lot of the major sports, but we've got tons of MLB, WNBA, a lot of other things going on, obviously, with NFL season right around the corner. Season long props are in play. We'll have a lot more on the NFL in the coming days. So make sure you sign up with promo code FIVE, get a deposit match up to $100. I'm joined by Eric Wiedeke of 5 Reasons Sports, covering MLB and the Miami Marlins. We're here to break down some of the Marlins plays on the Prize Picks board for tonight. So great to have Eric with us, and we're going to jump right in. So first
Yep.
of all, Eric, thanks for joining us. And what are you looking at tonight? Now, I know the Marlins already played and defeated Cincinnati earlier this afternoon, 5-4. So what's left on the board in terms of what you like in the Prize Picks slate?
Yeah, so some of my favorite plays, and I know you and I are going to get into it a little bit later on here, because we have one or two picks that are a little bit different. Something that I'm looking at tonight, I can't resist the no-run first innings, and I like the matchup between Philadelphia and Washington, with Mackenzie Gore going on the mound there, and Michael Lorenzen going. Lorenzen pitched really well in his first outing, going 8 innings against the Marlins. And Mackenzie Gore's been pretty solid all year for Washington, so that's a first inning that I think is going to go scoreless.
Yeah, MLB, for those people that maybe haven't played it so much or a little bit unfamiliar with the different categories they have, I like a lot of these combo plays as well. And as you said, you can kind of gauge the first innings. A lot of times the pitchers have been on a roll early on. So those are interesting plays. I've always agreed with those first run plays. Sometimes they're a toss up, but more times than not, you can kind of dial those in. So in terms of some of the guys hitting, who do you like tonight?
I like to, when it comes to the hitting props in baseball, guys get so streaky, and there's just not been a hotter hitter in the second half in all of baseball than Juan Soto. So I took the over on his hits, runs, and RBIs. I tend to prefer that to total bases, because a guy can go 1 for 4 with a hit and an RBI
Mhm.
and it still go over. But yeah, Juan Soto tonight, he's been just a monster in the second half, and at just 1.5, I mean, he feels like one of those rare guys that you should have at like a 2.5 number to me.
Yeah.
But so I'm taking that.
Yeah, Aaron Judge, you can see him at that 2.5 number. But yeah, give some of the rationale behind the total bases, because walks don't count for total bases. So
Yep.
it's kind of one of those numbers where basically you need the guy who's either going to get an extra base hit or one of those singles hitters that's going to give you a couple of those. So I agree with you. I think you get more value on the hits, runs, and RBIs, because you can knock that out with one swing of the bat right away. So I tend to lean that way when I'm looking at the hitters. So what are some of the other matchups that you like? And then I'll get into a couple of my picks as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess when it comes to matchups that I like, I'm also looking at from the perspective of, I'm going to flip it over to the pitchers now, and this is where you and I have, maybe a little bit of a slight disagreement. I like Bailey Ober on the fantasy score. I know that he's been kind of struggling a little bit of late, but this play for me, there's a few things that kind of go into it with the fantasy score. I'm looking at, I think he's going to stack innings. I don't know if he's going to strike a ton of guys out. Um, he played the Royals and the Diamondbacks he kind of struggled against. But overall, I'm looking at a Detroit offense that's had an OPS of 670 over the last 30 days, and I'm kind of just fading that for Bailey Ober. Kind of, this guy's a really good pitcher, and it's kind of just one of those things where he struggled the last 2 times out, and I think he's due against a favorable matchup.
Yeah, it could be a get right matchup for him, but I think in terms of the strikeouts, his volume has been a little bit down. And I was looking at sort of an even play on the strikeouts. He's at 5.5. I actually took him under 5.5 Ks. I do agree with you. He'll probably be able to get through the lineup at least a couple of times, but he's not like a heavy strikeout pitcher.
Yeah.
He sort of averages around, 4.5, 5, strikeouts per game. So I was a little bit on the fence. So when I'm on the fence, I look at Vegas and kind of where they're setting the lines. And at 5.5, he was at about minus 136. So Vegas tends to like him under, but he did have 8 Ks the last time out versus Detroit. So, I was just sort of taking, where the money's going in terms of over under. And I like to lean sometimes on the unders with these guys, especially if maybe they jump out to a big lead.
Yep.
They might save him. He might only go 5, 6 innings and maybe end up with like 4 strikeouts. So that's a nice debate there. I think he has a good game, but maybe we could both be right with a quality start, a high fantasy score, but a low strikeout number. So speaking of strikeouts, a guy who's been a little bit up and down is going to be Christian Javier from Houston. I actually took him over 4.5 strikeouts versus Baltimore. He's been kind of right around there, and he's not getting a lot of decisions lately, but Baltimore in limited action is only hitting 143 versus Javier. I think this is maybe one of those games where he could, against a good team, and both teams are playing really well. They've each won 7 out of 10 games. So I think Javier could maybe have a bounce back game and give him 6 innings. Over his last 25.2 innings, he's had 25 strikeouts. So if he can get 5 innings, I think he can get 5 strikeouts in this one. So what is your favorite pick out of the whole board for tonight, Eric?
So my favorite pick out of the whole board is, I mean, honestly, if I could just go with an entire slate of Braves batters, I would absolutely do that. I'm taking Matt Olson total bases. The guy's an extra base hit machine. Going up against Quinn Priester, who is a young pitcher, kind of just getting his feet wet in Major League Baseball. He's pitched to an 8.10 ERA so far. This is one that I could see going over in the first inning, honestly, with Olson. I can see
4 to 5.
Yeah, a first inning double, a first inning homer. I think he's definitely going over on this one today.
Now let's take this back a second to sort of what we just talked about. So now, why would you take the total bases versus the fantasy score here? Or is it a toss up, or both good picks?
I think they're both probably really good picks because of what you mentioned. In terms of the extra bases kind of weighting in a little bit more heavily. Yeah, I mean, I think total bases are a little bit less dependent on his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, in terms of like being able to drive in a run or something like that, guys getting on base in front of him. So that's probably why I lean there a little bit more. Although I would absolutely go over on 9.5 fantasy points for Matt Olson as well.
It doesn't seem like there's a bad play either way with Olson now, and the Braves, obviously, one of the best teams in baseball. So we've got a lot more coming up with MLB, NFL season picks. We're going to have Eric back on for some more Marlins big series versus the Yankees this weekend. Excited to see that underway. I'm curious to see what some of those numbers look like. So Eric and I will probably be back here around this time on Friday night to get you ready for that Marlins Yankees big series over the weekend. So if you can make it out this weekend down to Marlins Park. I've been looking at tickets. They're very reasonable for this game for some reason. So if you've been waiting to go to a Marlins game, I think it's pretty much now or never.
Now's the time.
You're not gonna have a bigger series probably for the foreseeable future. So want to thank Eric for joining me today and everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.